All right, we are joined today by County Executive Ed Day. Ed, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Good to be here, Tom.
Let's get right to it. Recently, we got to a higher level of solvency in Rockland County. The final bonds payment was finally issued, and maybe you could tell me a little bit about how we got to this point. We were underwater for a while, and now we are above water.
We are not only above water, we've gone from worst to first here in Rockland County. That deficit bond was a $96 million bond to address $138 million deficit and then some. It was a journey. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. It took a lot of work to get us back on board. Efficiencies established in county government, doing things differently, holding people accountable, making sure our workforce felt valued, frankly, because they're the ones who are going to get the job done. So what I'm most proud of is when I came into office, the simplest thing for me to do, if I wanted to be a typical politician, was to basically add another line to the tax bill and pay down that deficit bond through an additional specific tax levy. We felt, and I felt very strongly, that the people of Rockland County had suffered enough, and we should make every effort to try to pay this bond down in a normal course of business. Now, of course, that would mean probably a couple of tax increases along the way, which obviously is always politically unpopular. But I just felt it was the best thing to do for the people of Rockland. I'm very proud to be able to say that, with the exception of 1 year where we had a county property tax increase of 5%, that was when the hospital and nursing home had been closed. We had stayed under the cap, and the last few years we have had zero tax increases, and this year a -2% county property tax cut. We're looking to replicate that again next year. Time has come for government to live within its means. We have been doing that here in Rockland. That $138 million deficit is now a strong surplus in Rockland County. Positive fund balance we have. It gives us an opportunity to do other things, such as a new highway garage, which we needed desperately, and services to the people of Rockland County. So we are in much better shape. But again, we paid this thing down. It took a long time to do so, and because of that, it's allowed us to do many other things.
Yeah, and as is the norm in all things, one positive outcome and several negative outcomes, new challenges that come about. One of them has to do with the affordable housing market. I'll get to that in a moment, but I wanted to also get your thoughts on the MTA's new congestion pricing plan down below Manhattan, below 60th Street. Recent poll by Siena indicated that 63% of New Yorkers are against congestion pricing. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you've recently filed a suit against that to that effect.
Right.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. I'll make it very simple. This is an utter absolute ripoff for the people of Rockland in particular, because at the end of the day, we have a 35 to $40 million value gap, which means we pay that much more money into the MTA than we receive in services. To add a congestion pricing scheme on top of that is utterly abhorrent. And again, you're right. We have filed litigation. We are maintaining, among other things, that the MTA has no authority whatsoever to levy a tax, which is what this is. They can do tolls, but this is we believe to be a tax. And with that, it has not been authorized by the legislature, which is the only way that they can do this. But at the end of the day, well, I spoke to the chairman of the CEO of the MTA and said, look, I said, we have 4,000 commuters here in Rockland County who go to the city. It's a drop in the bucket for you to give us a complete break as it relates to the congestion pricing, for one very simple reason. You have not made an effort at all, a successful effort at all, to get us to a point where we are getting something close to services for the amount of money we pay every year through a variety of taxes that have been levied by the legislature that are for the MTA. And that's all it would have taken to show some good faith at a minimal effort. They decided to do nothing. We got no breaks. We got no discounts. It is just ridiculous. So we decided to do to file the court papers the day that they finalized their scheme, and that's where it stands now. The good news so far, we've been in court. There was an attempt by the MTA's attorneys to roll our lawsuit into the other lawsuits that are out there. I felt very strongly that we should not do that. We have an excellent county attorney in Tom Humback, who's always come up with many new ways of approaching things legally. He's a very aggressive attorney. And we felt that it was the best way to go was to stand it alone. So the judge refused to roll our action into the other action. So we are standing alone with what we believe to be a relatively unique and hopefully successful effort to stop this tax.
And to this date, there is still no representation by Rockland County on the MTA board. I believe you submitted several names after the previous MTA member passed away. And Governor Hochul, did the governor do anything with those names?
We have not heard back. We've called, we've followed up. And again, we're what they call quarter pounders, 4 different counties that make up one vote. We don't have a voice in this, which is it's salt in a wound, Tom. There's no better way of putting it right now, is that we have to endure inequities that are just beyond logic and understanding in order to stay. And we can't get out of the MTA. I back in as a legislator in 2007 through 2009, we had a process where we were looking at getting out of the MTA. And the bottom line is that the position of the state was, if we did leave the MTA, we had to pay for all of the improvements that have been made. You're talking millions upon millions of dollars in order to do that, which obviously is something that would not be able to do. And the city-centric legislature in Albany obviously does not want to lose Rockland County. We're viewed to be the redheaded stepchild with a lot of money in our pockets, and why would they ever give us up?
Final question. The housing market in Rockland County. There's numerous forces, economic, national. We have a larger contingency of migration coming up from New York City, and that's a cascade effect, in my opinion. Also, the housing market has significantly become, over the last 12 months, more volatile, but prices have increased. The demand for housing has not subsided whatsoever. Any thoughts on the future of housing in Rockland, affordable or real estate wise? General thoughts on that?
Well, general thoughts on that we realize that doing nothing is not an option. It also, we feel very strongly here that we should be doing something to try to assist our municipalities in identifying approaches to housing that is consistent with the desires of the local people in their own communities. So we have had our housing forum. We actually had patterns of progress, identify a number of options. The goal here was to identify potential things that we could do or we can offer to our localities. Because at the end of the day, the local municipalities, our villages and towns, are the sole arbiters when it relates to land use, not the county. And that's the way it should be, frankly. I'm a former Civic Association president. I would not want the county telling us what we should be looking like. I don't want to have Albany telling us what we look like. But we're offering the tools and the potential paths that could be utilized to improve housing. But some of the numbers we have are staggering. And this is something I think people have to really digest. Nearly 60% of the homes in Rockland are single-family detached homes. An average of $700,000 per home. The median household income in Rockland is $100,000, which only qualifies for a $260,000 mortgage. A housing deficit of 200 units for those making under $60,000, and more than 40% of the Rocklanders spend 30% or more of their household income on housing. These are not sustainable, and we're looking at people who we want to keep here. We have a volunteer firefighter, EMTs. We're going to lose them. Our workforce here in Rockland, even though Rockland County is #1 and has the best unemployment rate in the region, we still have to concern ourselves about the people who don't make a lot of money, who are providing services for us. I mean, even right down to having people in our local stores and servicing people who go shopping. So we're working with our localities, and it's a positive thing is that that they have engaged in with us to try to find the ways of addressing the housing crisis. Look, I'm a grandfather right now, and you know, I understand innately that people don't want to see change. That's a normal thing. This is why this has to be a ground up approach done from the localities, not from the top, not from the county, not pushing down. Um, you know, you've heard stories where the local municipalities have taken possible housing options out to town board and village board meetings, and many people don't want to see that happen. They enjoy their single family homes. They like having communities that are reflective of that, and I certainly and absolutely understand that. I want to be clear about that. Aging in place is really a great thing we can do for our senior citizens, for example. We have to give them an opportunity to do that. But there's a disconnect when, you know, myself as a grandfather, for example, saying that I want my single family home. I don't want my neighborhood to change in any way, shape, or form. I want everything the same the way it is. I don't want to see any change at all. But then by the same token, my son moves away and moves to a different state because he can't afford housing here in Rockland County. So you can't have it both ways. And the challenge here is for our local municipalities to get in touch with the pulse of the people who are in their communities and identify ways, with the assistance of Patterns for Progress, with the assistance of Rockland County government. We're spending a lot of effort to try to assist in that way. And it's better, I strongly believe it's better that we do that here. I absolutely do not like the fact that Albany has been trying to tell us how to do housing in Rockland County. I mean, just recently, for the second time, the issue has come up where they want to suspend zoning and building regulations because they want to have for multifamily homes
Right.
that are done by religious organizations. First of all, we have our LUPA, number one. So religious organizations are fully protected under federal law. Number two, the way this looks between accessory dwelling units, which is something that's come up, suspending building codes, it would change the entire character of Rockland County. And that is, Albany cannot do these things from afar. For example, right now, we know that there's been a massive changes in commuting for residents here in Rockland going to the city. Now, that's something we see in real time. Albany does not see that. They still talk about Rockland County and housing like it was Brooklyn. It doesn't work that way. It just makes no sense. So we're looking for we're doing a thoughtful approach to make sure that what we're doing is done in such a manner that's respectful and mindful of the people who live here, who have invested their life savings in their homes often, and we don't want to see that betrayed. It's not right. So we're moving along forward. We have a housing coordinator who will work with the localities and the municipalities to try to identify paths to get this affordable housing or workforce housing, and it's a work in progress. We just really started this the past year, and we're going to move forward on it. And again, the goal here is to have our localities, our municipalities, hopefully buy into an approach that they can live with. Because that's really, if you don't do that, it's never going to work.
Right. And home rule seems to be a logical course of action. So,
and home rule is the Constitution of the state of New York. I would like to see the governor, who swore an oath when she came into office that she would abide by the Constitution and support the Constitution. It is contrary to that reality when we see things coming out of Albany that are quite the direct opposite of what we should be doing.
we appreciate your time today, County Executive Ed Day. Thanks for joining us on Rockland News today.
Happy to be, Tom. Thank you very much.